Many companies, they have different channels that they are really good at, and then over time they add more and more and more. But at the beginning, you need to find your one that you're good at.
This is Velocitize Talks, and I'm Eric Jones. I'm here with Fred Schebesta, the co-founder of Finder.com. Fred, great to have you.
Thanks, my man.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Finder and the opportunity that you saw with its creation.
You know, we were internet marketers and we wanted to build a site where people came and, you know, somehow we made some money from them. And we didn't know how to do. And I was a big direct marketer and obviously wrote a lot and into education. And so we thought, hey, why don't we start writing guides about finance topics? And from there, you know, that started working really well. And then we were like, okay, well, we're just running about credit cards in the beginning. And then we were like, it was called Credit Card Finder. And then we went to home loans and savings accounts and then started doing it overseas and technology and went from there.
Have you found that the sort of interest in that type of service varies by generation? So do you find that Gen Z is more interested versus boomers, or maybe no difference whatsoever?
We would market to all of the segments. And I think it's more of not so much, I suppose you could categorize it slightly by age, but I think it's more what stage of life are you up to? Mm-hmm. So are you moving out of home? Are you trying to buy a house? Are you just trying to travel? Because there are 45-year-olds that are getting their first home. There are 25-year-olds with 2 properties. You know, it's all a bit mangled these days, right? In general, sure, there are buckets that you can kind of categorize to, and there's, you know, a normal distribution around that. And so what we try and do is just more central around problems.
In these problem areas where people are interested in comparison shopping, what are some of the ones that have evolved over the last year, or even ones where you've been surprised, like, wow, I never really thought that this would become a big category, or even trends that you're seeing in the future, like, ooh, this is an area of opportunity for us? So,
you know, I think credit cards used to be much, much bigger in society, and I think they're sort of changing now. You know, a lot more people have debit cards. A lot more people are using other services to pay for things. I think payments is changing. I think some emerging categories are like digital banks. So these new neobanks, they're starting to emerge. You're seeing them in the UK, seeing them here, seeing them not as much in the US, but I think they will come as well. You've got other sort of interesting categories. Cryptocurrency wasn't really a thing. Now it's a thing. You know, we're seeing things like online mattresses. Been an explosion of online mattresses. You know, you're Casper, Purple, and things like that. And this is happening all around the world, right? So because Finder markets worldwide, and so we see these different trends happen, and at different stages as well. It's interesting how they come about.
You've been, a serial entrepreneur your whole life, going back to your university days. How do you manage to balance it all?
I make space for health. I talk about health in 2 ways: physical fitness and emotional fitness. Because you get, you know, a lot of people talk, I don't know if you've spoken to a lot of people about this, but you get down as an entrepreneur because you feel your business and you take that personally, and then, you know, you as an individual have to continuously fire yourself, rehire yourself in a different role, relearn your entire skill set, what's performance, what's not performance. And you do this every, 6 months, you know, so you're going through a constant change in your life, and you have to evolve because of that as well. And if you don't, then I don't think you perform as well as a company. I don't think you perform as well as an individual. And so I guess I put myself on purpose into a constant state of uncomfortableness to grow as an individual, to ensure that basically I'm not the limiting factor of the company, to get out of the way. And so it's basically just forcing myself to make time for all of those things.
What about your agency sort of world and experience have you been able to import into your current role as a founder and leader at Finder?
The agency was a digital marketing agency and it built websites. So I took practical skills and mastery of, you know, search engine marketing, internet marketing in general, coding, development. I wouldn't say I'm an engineer, and that's probably one of my weaknesses, and I accept that. But it's a real understanding of how the internet and the fabric of the internet actually operates, and how marketing works in and of itself. on the internet. And we took that, literally all those skills we'd mastered, and we used that to create the processes and the systems that we knew would work. And then from there, we've had to, evolve and recreate ourselves many, many times. I think another thing an agency brings is urgency. There's a degree of urgency in an agency that other companies might not as much have. And I think the other thing we took is the value of creativity.
What advice would you give, both based on your agency experience and being a founder at Finder, for other entrepreneurs as they begin to create their company and begin to create that online presence?
I always think a couple of things. One is find a channel that I'm talking about from a marketing perspective, like find a channel that you master, that you are going to dedicate an extreme amount of resource and energy to baking into the company the mastery of. Many companies, they have different channels that they are really good at, and then over time they add more and more and more. But at the beginning, you need to find your one that you're good at and forget about the rest for a long time, because when you're beginning, you just need a constant source of customers that are coming in and things like that. Then the second thing I think is, once you know that channel and you know where that's going to come from, is to really master, because then I think about businesses from a perspective of, I like demand-driven businesses. So, I like selling Panadol, so like aspirins, not vitamins, because people have a need, not a want. Like need, I need this, I love that. That's why I think about the marketing first. And then what is your solution? The key is to then, if you've worked out this product, whichever way you've done it in order is fine, but is to then laser very specifically on the one thing you are 10x best at. And focus only on that, because you've got lots of ideas. You're like, oh, we could do this, this is the future, this is where we're going to go. But today and now, the reality of what your customers are going to experience and what you're going to do, it's really hard to do this, is to discipline yourself for 2 to 3 years only on that service.
You have repeatedly written about and also are interviewed about cryptocurrency and blockchain. How do you think blockchain is going to change digital experiences today?
I don't think today it's going to change that much. Probably in I'd say 7 to 10 years time. Blockchain is we're at the IRC days or of the internet. We're seeing what's possible. There was a video site that launched very early on, way before YouTube, 15 years before it, and it was the future. But there was not enough bandwidth, it was just so clunky, all those kind of things. All of the potential is there to do all the ideas that people talk about, sure. But the mechanics of it and the smoothness of it and the actual learning is very, very steep curve right now, very steep. We're in protocol days, almost we're going to agree on TCP/IP to run the internet. That took a long time. And then, HTTP, that's how we're going to do it. And it's www. Okay, that's how we do things. We're at those stages. So I don't think it's going to change that much. As I said, 7 to 10 years.
We've seen in the United States the very first ad in blockchain. Havas did it a couple of months ago. Any other cool work that you've seen just in your involvement with blockchain or crypto or even just in your role as an entrepreneur?
I did see one thing the other day that not necessarily related to blockchain, but I saw a facial, someone go in a convenience store in China and put some things on the thing, look at a screen, they scan its face, and they clicked yes, and they paid. Never used to pull out a card, a phone, anything, just their face. And to me, that's I was like, whoa, that's you see those movies where that stuff happens, right? It's that's the future.
So I'm actually kind of curious about that. How do you think, VR, let's say, as a technology will change, how we do shopping today?
I think VR will be one of the instigators to bring virtual currencies to the norm. Because why would you have you need an electronic currency then, right? You're virtually moving through worlds. You might virtually have meetings. You'll virtually move through the world, and I think I can see that happening to some extent. And then I think virtual currencies seem obvious.
Right. One of the questions we love asking is a book that you'd like to, or a podcast or something like that you'd like to recommend to our viewers.
I read the Everything Store for Amazon. I think that was interesting. I read Flash Boys recently because I was interested in high frequency trading, but I think it's a bit of an adjunct, but just told me the extreme extent that some people will go to make money, like extremity in Wall Street. I just didn't realize the level that was being played, and I thought that was fascinating in and of itself, but maybe that was a bit of a relaxing read for me. I think if I was trying to personally improve myself, I regularly read this, is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I think I go back to that book all the time, and begin with the end in mind. It's just it's like a refresher of like, oh yeah, I could do better, and just here are some places I could improve.
Fred, thanks so much.
No worries, my man.
That was Fred Schebesta, the co-founder of Finder.com.